What is up, my future legends? All right, today we're going to talk about a few things. I'm going to tell you how I feel about the market. Is this a big bubble? All that good stuff coming up in today's video. So let's get started. First and foremost, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. As you can see, we have a descending trend line that is causing a lot of trouble for Bitcoin as of right now. It does not look very bad, however. I'm going to show you something. If we go look at the quarterly chart, you're going to see that this quarter does not look bad at all. Yes, we are rejecting from the trend line, but as far as moving lower, we've only tested pretty much the midpoint of Q1 2024. All right, Q1 2024 was a very good quarter for Bitcoin as far as growth. Here is your Q1 2024 move. You can see that big move. And then ever since, we've basically just been consolidating in a rather large range. Now, typically, not always, obviously, but typically, whenever you have a pattern like this is looked at as a cup and handle formation. All right, it is a rounding bottom formation. So I'm going to show you this via Apple. All right, so anybody that has been watching me for any amount of time knows that I've been telling people that Apple was in a huge rounding bottom formation like this as well, and had already started to put in the handle. So we were just looking for Apple to literally go back up to the yearly opening range, break above the yearly opening range, retest the yearly opening range, which it did right here, and then take off. And that's exactly what happened. But the main thing that I want you to focus on is the actual pattern itself. I'm not a pattern trader. We trade the charts. But if you can see, this is going to be your cup, right? And then this part here is your handle. This is a cup and handle formation. And typically it is a bullish pattern. Now, with that being said, that absolutely does not mean that Bitcoin is going to go higher and break out and move to new all-time highs. If you do look at the pattern, it is a rounding bottom formation, and we would love to see Bitcoin hold this low. It is okay to break this low. So if Bitcoin were to come all the way down here and make a fresh low, it could still end up moving up and breaking out. So making a fresh low does not necessarily mean the end of Bitcoin as far as making new all-time highs. I'm assuming that as long as tech sector keeps making more money, then Bitcoin will continue to rally. All right, so Bitcoin is not directly correlated with tech, but as we have seen in the past, it does tend to trade with tech. And a lot of people think that tech is in a massive bubble. All right, I'm going to show you something that I just tweeted on Twitter right here: Microsoft, Apple, and Nvidia. So if you don't know who John Rockefeller is, he was considered the richest businessman ever in all time in American history, and his net worth was like 1.4 billion. Adjusted for inflation, he would be worth like $22 billion if he were still alive today. Nvidia made $26 billion last quarter. I want you to look at since Q1 2023. Remember, when did this channel start to get bullish? Oh yeah, Q1 2023, because inflation started dropping and your big, super huge tech companies started making money. Well, actually, only a couple of them stopped making money during the bear market, but we'll get into that in another day. I'm just saying, as long as Nvidia keeps posting numbers like this, that means the market can continue to move higher. If we go over here and we just look at the spiders, top 10 holdings, which makes up like a huge portion of this pie chart over here, it's going to be the top three: Microsoft, Nvidia, and Apple. Since Apple broke out, Apple is now the second highest by market cap. So basically, Apple is at a $3.25 trillion market cap. Nvidia is currently at a $3.24 trillion market cap. But just think about that. Microsoft market cap 3.28 trill, Apple market cap 3.25 trill, Nvidia market cap 3.24 trill. I mean, guys, you're looking at $10 trillion almost right there in market cap just in those three companies. So yes, those three companies do hold a ton of weight on the daily time frame. If we pull up the moving averages and the RSI, you're going to see that Bitcoin finally did on the daily time frame break back down below the 50 on the RSI. We go over to the weekly, you're going to see that Bitcoin is still well above the 50 on the RSI. It's just now getting to roughly around 63. So it is losing a bit of momentum. This weekly candle does not look great, but it does not look terrible either. For me to get really concerned about the Bitcoin market, I would need to literally see a dump candle that looks something like that. And then a follow-up candle looks something like this. And then the next candle looks something like that. If we get something like that, then I would be a little bit concerned about Bitcoin, obviously. But as long as we have slow little moves, I think it was down on Friday, like not even 2% at one point. So, okay, it still looks good on the daily. All right. For day trades, you can look for shorts. As a matter of fact, yesterday, let's get rid of the moving averages real quick. I don't understand. Okay, never mind. I remember now why that's over there. But anyways, sorry to get sidetracked. I did take a short on Bitcoin yesterday. And the reason is because the day prior to that, which was Thursday, it had a move lower and it took out prior support, which would have been here, that was made on Tuesday. We did close below. So as it traded up into this supply zone, I waited for a fresh high of day. Let's go into the hourly time frame and I will show you this trade exactly when and where I took it. So at the time of day, if we go over here, you can see this is an 8 a.m. candle. Let's make this white. We don't want to confuse anybody. It's not the yearly open. And then on the 9 o'clock candle at the market open, we pushed up. We made a fresh daily high, therefore stopping out any shorts that got short earlier than 9 o'clock. That is when I put my short entry in, a new short entry. I'm no longer holding the original position. So this is a new position, full size position, short right there, stop just above that wick. And you can see that was a pretty nice move down in there. And today, here we are. It looks like it is trying to break back to the upside. So quickly, let's go look at the S&P 500. So this is Friday. I don't know why it looks like this, but if we go, you can see it was basically a sideways inside day. Here it is. This is where we broke out above the expected range to the upside, which I said last week we were going to be looking for. We actually closed above the expected move high on Thursday. And then Friday, you can see from low to high, you are inside Thursday's candle. Wednesday was the big news day. We beat on inflation, which, everybody thought that the Fed was going to be able to cut, but we knew they weren't going to do anything now. As of right now, if you look at the Fed Watch tool and other aspects, I'll show you this chart here. Right now, it's still looking at, we will probably see a cut, but on the Fed Watch tool, it's not going to be until September as of right now. All right. As of right now, we're looking at around September to get a rate cut. It is possible that we get one before that, but it's unlikely as far as probabilities go. Tech has been in an exponential growth curve. Let me see if I can pull this over here. Accelerating growth in technology. So basically, since the 1950s, we put a man on the moon. You can see once the microprocessor was discovered, invented, and built, boom, it just continues to go in this exponential curve, this growth that just goes straight to the moon. How does that affect the stock market? Well, you can see an exponential growth curve. NVIDIA made $26 billion in Q1 of 2024 alone, and their earnings growth is positive. So when you hear people say that we're in the biggest bubble ever in all of market history, I would just simply refer to them to this video and say, we're also in the most exponential tech growth ever of all time in history of life itself. And as long as companies like NVIDIA and Microsoft and everybody else sees growth like this, then I don't see why I would be looking for a market collapse anytime soon, even if the Fed was going to, or if they will start cutting interest rates. And as we've seen in the exponential growth curve, from here, it's just going to get more exponential. There are obviously pullbacks that are going to take place inside of this move to the upside. I'm not really concerned right now for a bearish market. Bearing a black swan event, I only expect to see small 2 to 4 to 8% pullbacks And then I expect to see it take right back off to the upside as long as those top 3 mega corporations are making money in their earnings printouts. All right. Every quarter you get a new earnings. So every quarter earnings growth has been good in the S&P 500 companies, not so much in the IWM, but remember the S&P 500 is much larger in terms of market cap than the IWM companies are. Therefore, you will see much more growth. That is also why the NASDAQ is beating the S&P 500 as far as return per year. It's because the NASDAQ is more tech focused. But here we go. Got the top edge of the expected move this week. The S&P 500 is expecting a $61 move. That's $61 higher or $61 lower from current price. Current price is the close as of Friday, $5,431.61. We got the top edge of that expected move setting at $5,492.61. Bottom edge of the expected move setting at $53.70 spot 61, $5,370 spot 61 cents. And the plan is going to be the same. Any pullback to this area, which is the bottom edge of the expected move or the old high week close. We have a new high week close setting up here. This is last week's high week close or the high month close. Then I would be looking for long opportunities at those 3 areas. For Bitcoin technical levels that I will be watching, well, as of right now, as long as it continues to go lower, I'm just going to set in that short. If it gets stopped out, I will look to re-enter a short at a higher area as long as the dailies are closing under the 21 exponential, as that is my day trade type of signal. But ultimately, long term, I am bullish on Bitcoin. If I get stopped out, if price goes back up there and reverses at, say, this daily resistance, then I'll look for potential short entries there. But if we start closing dailies back above the 21, then that means we will be back above the 50. And that means that, hey, it's time to potentially start looking for long scalps. And that's how I do it. Now, for me to get more bearish on Bitcoin, I would need to see a weekly close below the weekly 21. That's what I would need to see. Thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.